Donald Trump is like an old boyfriend who you broke up with, but he just won't go away. He has spent the last 4 years spinning the block, trying to get back into a relationship with the American people. Bro, we broke up with you for a reason. Trump is a chaos agent who is focused on himself, not the American people. Trump tried to destroy our democracy by lying about the election and inciting a violent mob to attack the Capitol. Trump put 3 extreme justices on the Supreme Court who destroyed Roe v. Wade. We broke up with you for a reason. Donald Trump can spin the block all he wants, but there's no reason for us to ever get back together. Been there, done that. We're not going back.
That was House Minority Leader Congressman Hakeem Jeffries giving a rousing speech last night here at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, and the Democratic leader joins us now. Leader Jeffries, great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Great to be with you.
Can you speak broadly to what you have felt in this arena over the last 3 days leading up to tonight's address, where Vice President Harris will accept the nomination, especially given where the party's been for the last several months, this sort of hand-wringing about whether President Biden should stay in the race, should he stay or should he go? Uncertainty among even some Democrats about whether Vice President Harris was the person for the job. What are you seeing now this week after all of that?
Well, there's been a lot of unity, a lot of joy, a lot of hope about the future. President Biden will go down in history as one of the most consequential presidents of all time. And then he made a selfless decision to pass the torch to Kamala Harris, who is ready and willing and able to get the job done. We've seen it. She's got an amazing partner in Tim Walz. And so we're optimistic about the future, but also we understand that there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done over the next 75 days to get this done for the American people.
Can you give some insight, Leader Jeffries, now with a little distance from it? Obviously, you were respectful of President Biden, gave him the time and space to make his decision about what it was like behind the scenes as you all waited to see what he was going to decide, perhaps any pressure that may have been applied in any direction. What was it like in those days and weeks?
Well, from the House perspective, we thought it was important to speak amongst ourselves and have conversations that were clear and comprehensive and candid, so that when I had the opportunity to speak to high-level members of the administration and ultimately to President Biden, I could communicate the full breadth of perspective. But we also believed that President Biden, who has served this country incredibly well over a 50-plus year legendary career, was going to work through this. It would ultimately be his decision. And he made a decision that he felt was best for the country and for those who he has served with and led so capably during his time in office.
So, Leader Jeffries, I know it's a point of pride that there's a House guy on the ticket now. Governor Walz, of course, spent about a decade in the House before moving to the State House. You worked with him as a former colleague. Tell us how you got to know him, what he brings to the ticket.
Well, he's such a good man, an authentic man, a family man. And everyone who served with Tim Walz, myself included, just was left with the impression that he's such a fundamentally decent person, in it for the right reasons, has experiences that are closely connected to the day-to-day experiences of everyday Americans. And that's why we've seen his appeal be so explosive.
And on that idea, I was struck last night as we saw him deliver this speech. It was very emotional. We saw his son pointing at us saying he loved his father. We saw his daughter react. The split screen that's going to be the vice presidential debate, where you have this very everyman in Governor Walz versus J.D. Vance, who for weeks now the Democrats have labeled successfully as weird and out of step with Americans. What do you think that night will be like?
Well, it's going to be a bad night for the extreme MAGA Republicans. They've had 4 consecutive bad weeks, and they're not going to be able to spin or find their way out of it. When they have to confront Vice President Kamala Harris and the vision that she has, when they have to confront Tim Walz and the authentic character that he has and the relatability, it's going to be very difficult for them. The big important difference is that we want to move the country forward. They want to turn back the clock. We want to unify the country. They're trying to divide us. We believe in an economy that works for everyday Americans, as Governor Walz articulated yesterday, as Kamala Harris will articulate in an incredible way today. And their view of the economy is we just want to continue to support the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Those differences, which will be played out on the debate stage and played out on the campaign trail over the next 75 days, I think will put us in the strongest possible position to make our case to the American people that we should be given the opportunity to lead.
On that question of the economy, Leader Jeffries, we know we'll continue to hear from Donald Trump and Republicans. The prices are through the roof. Inflation is too high. I think you would agree. You hear that from your constituents still when you go back to Brooklyn and hear from them this summer. What is the answer to that? I know that Vice President Harris has put out this plan. She's talked about price gouging. Some economists have been skeptical about whether price fixing is the answer to inflation. But what is the response to the fact that everyday people, regardless of political party, feel like they're still paying too much for groceries and other things?
Well, we recognize that far too many people are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck in terms of trying to fully realize the American dream, which is why Kamala Harris, which is why House Democrats have said we want to focus on lower costs, lowering housing costs, lowering food prices, lowering the high price of life-saving prescription drugs, and we've already made significant progress in that area thanks to the leadership of President Biden. But we know that more needs to be done. It's been interesting because this has been a convention where you've heard a lot of talk about the housing crisis, including from our two former presidents. President Obama leaned in to the need to deal with housing affordability. President Clinton last night did the same thing. And so we recognize that there is still a lot of work to be done to allow everyday Americans to be able to get ahead.
I want to ask you quickly before we let you go, this House Republican report that came out, 291-page document, Republicans making the case that there is a case to impeach President Biden, notably absent any evidence that he did anything impeachable. What's your reaction?
If you think there's a case to impeach President Biden, go ahead, make our day. Put the articles of impeachment on the floor of the House of Representatives. They'll go down in flames. The reason why they're not doing it is because, on the one hand, they issue this fake, fictitious, and fraudulent report to appease Donald Trump. But they also know politically it's toxic, and so they're never going to put it on the floor of the House of Representatives. And if they do, we'll stop them.
Final question. How did you choose which hip-hop reference to close with? You went with Fat Joe and Remy Ma all the way up. Was that some deliberation around that?
Did you have a team?
He doesn't need a team.
No, he doesn't need a team.
I just wanted to let the spirit move me, figure out, what the situation was in the arena and what the relationship was with the people that I was speaking to. And clearly at the end, I felt like, you know what? It's time to drop it. Nothing can stop us. We're all the way up.
And this arena has been all the way up and will be again tonight.
They were loud. They were loud.
House Minority Leader, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, thanks for your time this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you.